for instance, The Godfather, right? Okay, there's violence and there's whatever. But the best scenes in that movie are conversations like this.
Bro.
My favorite scene in cinema ever is the opening scene is when Vito was speaking to Bonacera. That scene where it's just a conversation, but it's my favorite. I love it so much.
That opening shot, yeah, it's everything in that. It's everything in that movie. It's from the conversation he has with, but in fact, the shot doesn't start with Vito. It starts with Bonacera.
Yeah.
Vito's clouded in darkness. Then he comes into the light, and it just from the lighting of the film, and it's like you could see just the power dynamics between the two. Him like. There's a reason why, that scene from The Godfather is so imitated, where it's so iconic, where somebody's stroking a cat, sitting on a chair, Vito Corleone, and
even people who ain't seen The Godfather
they
will
know,
they
know the iconography of that film, and The Godfather. I mean, this is why we like. I was supposed to ask you this or that, but I'll ask you it after this.
Cool.
But there's a reason why we love Fall of Man stories and story in fiction, right? Vito Corleone, Michael Corleone's fall from grace. The man who had it, Michael Corleone starts off US veteran, honorable person, completely outside of the family life. Like Vito Corleone even says to Michael, yo, I wanted you to be, it's the scene right before Vito dies, where he's like, I had dreamed, I didn't want this life for you. I wanted, Councillor Corleone, Mayor Corleone, something. And it's just the fall of man. What happens when, this classic saying, the road was paved with good intentions. All Michael wanted to do was save his family.
Yeah.
But then throughout the trilogy...
Because even the whole thing, the way his whole arc starts is because he saves his dad.
Yeah.
You get me? He saves Vito. That's how... Because he never wanted to do none of this. He was kind of forced to, innit? Then from him saving him at the hospital, everything just kind of unravels, and that's how we eventually get to where we get to. And
then the trilogy, it's a Shakespearean tragedy.
Yeah.
Because the man who starts the narrative trying to save his family ultimately destroys it.
Yeah.
Because he kills Fredo in number 2. And he's responsible for his daughter's death in number 3.
Yeah.
And he dies. The last scene, number 3, is him on a chair by himself, dying alone.
Yeah.
When the whole reason he started this was to save the family.
Exactly.
That's what you call cinema.
But the thing is as well, it's also sad because it was always going to be Michael.
Yeah.
It was always going to be Michael.
He was the smartest. He was the most
Sonny
logical.
was never going to be able to run the family. Even if Sonny didn't die the way he did, he was never going to be able to run the family, because even when Sonny dies and Tom's speaking to Vito and he's like, bro, it's not your fault, innit? Like, you weren't a bad consigliere. Sonny was a bad Don. Like, Sonny was never, ever, ever going to be able to lead the family. Never. Too hot-headed. But then the thing is with Michael was that Michael had Sonny's viciousness, but then he also had Vito's brain. You get me? So it was like he had that
But he
balance.
never had Vito's compassion.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The thing about the thing that separates Vito from Michael is Vito, because we saw it in number 2. Obviously, Michael's motivation was always to protect the family, but you even saw how he treated people like Fredo, how he treated Tom sometimes.
Yeah.
Michael was so, and maybe that becomes from him being a former soldier, or how he treats his wife.
Yeah.
How he treats his wife. Vito, there was even though Vito was brutal, who's vicious, there was always a compassion to Vito, and there was always a time and place where this is business. Michael was too ruthless.
Yeah. For Vito, it always felt like Vito did everything he did out of necessity.
Yes.
And it was like, if I have to kill 3 people, 3 people will die. But Michael was like, if I have to kill 3 people and 3 others have to die so those 3 people can die, then so be it. You get me?
You said your favorite scene in Godfather. My favorite scene in Godfather is the ending. When
he's swearing it, when he's
where he's swearing to renounce evil.
Yeah.
While he's simultaneously committing multiple assassinations.
Yeah.
And you just see the fall of he is the devil. He became the devil he renounced. I'm just like, that's the beauty of cinema.
Yeah.
And that's why, to circle back to the original conversation we had about entertainment versus what you said about the lasting impression a film gives you. These feel like parables.
Yeah.
These feel like, I feel like a truly great film is something that I can reference in life.
Bro, this is shit you could raise your son off, bro.
Bro,
you can raise your son off this shit, bro.
It feels like something, a truly like touching film. Isn't something where I say, oh, I had a good time. It's like, no, I took something from that.
Yeah.
I took, like, something about that film has stuck with me. I look at Michael Corleone, I rate his mastermind, I rate how much of a master, but I don't look at Michael Corleone saying, I want to be him.
Yeah.
I feel like from what people take away from Wolf of Wall Street,
do you feel like any of the brothers are sympathetic?
Who?
Even do you feel like, so let's say if we go Vito, Sonny, Fredo, and Michael.
I think Fredo's very, don't get me wrong, he's a snitch. Absolute snitch. I think
Vito, and only because of the circumstances of which Sonny died.
Sonny?
Yeah. Only because of the circumstances of his death.
Sonny
he was on his way to protect his sister.
He's a hothead, though.
He is a hothead.
And
that's how they got him. That's how they got him, though. They knew he would react. The reason
why I sympathize with Fredo the most,
he snitched, though, man.
He snitched. But he was treated with utter disrespect.
Yeah.
Consistently. The only person that ever like saw him as valuable was Vito.
Yeah.
And that's why Vito was able to keep him in check.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was like, I remember the scene in Godfather 1 where it was the Mo Green scene.
Yeah.
Where, you know, where
at the end.
No, it was like towards the middle of the movie where it was like it was Fredo, Michael.
When Michael goes to go see him.
Yeah, and you don't disrespect a man like Mo Green like that. And then Michael's like, disrespect the family again, I'll kill, like, never do that again.
Yeah.
And I get where Michael's coming from, but it's the coldness of Michael where the reason why Fredo left the family is because he felt like an imbecile, and he was one. He was one of the imbeciles. He was an imbecile.
Proper imbecile.
But that's why Vito was such a great, because Vito always knew how to make everyone feel. Yeah, he knew what buttons
to push. Yeah.
People loved Vito. They feared Michael.
Yeah.
They didn't. They never loved. Yeah. Nobody loved Michael.
Yeah.
Not a single person loved Michael. They just feared him.
There's a quote from one of my favorite episodes of a podcast ever.
Yeah.
It's Big Body Best on Taxstone's podcast, yeah. And he said, look, he said this. He said, at the end of the day, we're going to be aggressive, but we're also going to be compassionate.
Yeah.
And that's the way you have to live your life. You have to have that compassion. You get me? And you're right, Michael never had that compassion.
Because we go back to the opening scene you talk about, right? Where, what's the guy's name? Where Bonacera comes to Vito. Vito's speech is so important in this, and it captures his character. He said, you came to me as the doctor. You didn't come, you don't even offer me a cup of coffee. You don't even ask me to be your friend.
Yeah.
It's all about relationship. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Vito's not a saint. He's a mafia boss. At the end of the day, he's a mafia boss. All right, let's call it a spade. I'm not saying he's a saint. But with Vito, it was always about relationship. Why didn't he get to the drug? And
he's like, why didn't you come to me first? The first thing he says to him.
Why didn't you come to me first?
Why didn't you come to me first? Why did you go to the police? That's the first thing he said to him.
And you ask and you come to me, he says, you don't come for justice. You came for murder.
Yeah, he was like, this is not justice. Your daughter's still alive.
Yeah. And the thing for Vito is like, you're treating me like I'm the scum of the earth. And you know, he's a mafia boss. Like, yeah, fairs. But for him, it was all about my relationships with people. Even the reason why Barzini and them want to assassinate Vito because he doesn't want to get into the drug game.
Yeah,
why? Because it's a dirty business.
Exactly.
Because, okay, money, gambling, prostitution, alcohol, yes, those are bad things. Alcohol, yeah, but those are vices that people choose of their own willing or of their own choosing. Like you can choose to gamble, that's whatever. Drugs, it's a dirty business.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, what I like about that is that when we have these gangster movies or whatever, however we do them, whether it's a Godfather or whether it's a Paid in Full, we never have that moment of self-awareness from the dealer or the criminal that drugs is more than just drugs. It's the people it affects and this and that. You never have that realization where Vito always had that foresight of, that's a dirty business. I don't want to get involved in that.